Hi guys, welcome to this video for you guys today here on Wrestling Fan Open Mic Night. How is everyone doing? And I'm blown away. 40 of you now have hit that subscribe button. Come on guys, make it to 100 at least before Christmas. But I'm reaching for a high demand, but you guys are awesome. Every time when I do any content for you guys keep supporting, and I love the outcry of support. You know, I've got a cameo from obviously my good old friends at UWO podcast, Brian, Kyle, and Eddie. They're going to be making an appearance on this upload to show some love, you know, because at the end of the day, that's what makes the world go round. If wrestling fans all not exactly feel the same, but understand the same, then it makes it so much better being a wrestling fan on social media. And they give their intake towards people that hate on myself and other creators if we talk about certain things in the wrestling world and so on. You know, because at the end of the day, we love talk about professional wrestling. You know, it's a dog-eat-dog world here on social media. It's not easy to get into. You need to have a thick skin if you want to get into it. And that's just me being honest. You know, you can't look at these people and say, these big YouTubers that over the years like KSI or Mr. Beast or anything like that, to inspire you to do YouTube. It blows my mind when people say to me, I inspire them. You know, that's how me and my friend Paddy made friends. You know, over 10 years ago. You know, that just blows my mind. But I say to people, you can't get inspired by us. Be unique yourself. You know, preach your wrestling fandom if you want to. Or whatever content you want to create. You preach it. Stream it, etc., 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 to get yourself noticed. You know, I'm not doing this to get myself noticed as such. I'm just giving this my break from reality, you know, from a day-to-day life. So I can talk about professional wrestling. Because at the end of the day, I enjoy professional wrestling. If it goes wrong, I'll tell you straight. I do not sugarcoat anything that goes wrong. You know, that's why I stress this. You know, because at the end of the day, people don't understand. And 40 of you have already understood. Yeah, the viewership has gone up and down on my videos. I don't care. You know, because at the end of the day, if you've literally pressed that play button, you made that effort, you could easily hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon like the 40 people have already done that. And you could always check out my other links on my link tree. You know, towards my Instagram, towards X, towards TikTok. You know, because at the end of the day, we do love the people that I interact with, such as the UWO podcast, such as GW Podcast UK, such as Light Skin Guy Ocean, etc., etc., etc. Hills for Life podcast. You know, what I love is what I love about professional wrestling. It's not just what happens in the ring, it happens what outside of the ring. Because it makes the world go round if you interact with other people that see the same views as you. It's hard to interact with people that don't see the same side of professional wrestling like we do, or whatever content you want to bring to the table so you can get yourself noticed. It's not just about getting noticed, it's the people beyond the camera lens that I respect. That's why I do vlogs, that's why I do talk about professional wrestling. And I've found so many interesting people like the names I've just mentioned. You know, because they've got so much love for me and I've got so much love for them back, you know, because it's mad to think that the likes of GW Podcast UK, a prime example, they're going to the same shows as me at the end of the month. I didn't realise that. And they said to me, come find us, sort of. And I'm looking forward to meeting up with all four of them. You know, they speak the mind about professional wrestling. They don't hold back. That's why I relate to so many people that do that. You know, that's why I like the UWO podcast. I wish they would come over. And good old heel Stephen, you know, back in the early days when I had to put it, when I appeared on the Team Heel Gutjet podcast, I clicked with them. Yeah, fair enough, I'm not talking to Stephen in a while. But Stephen's a good person inside out. TNS attitude. Obviously my mate Paddy, when he does his vlogs. Yeah, he's bringing to the table towards the Guinness side of things and mixing with a bit of wrestling, you know, because obviously he's going to be hopefully making a vlog when we go to London. So, you know, that's what I like. you know, and the people I interact with, and obviously you guys that watch this video or leaves a comment or talks to me on Facebook. Because at the end of the day, you guys are awesome to the point where I can show this off now on camera. I've got a t-shirt design that I've designed specially to represent everyone that's interacted with me over the years. You know, and I can't thank them enough. Right? Yes, it's my channel logo on the back with my Linktree link, obviously. Then you look at the front. I'm hoping that picked up on. Look at the front. That's what I mean. Because I've based it on you guys and the World Cups next year, and people say, oh, there's X amount of million people that bring together when it comes to football and the World Cup and everything like that. That's why I did that. That's why I did that design. You know? Because of you. That's why I talk about professional wrestling. I don't do it for the sake of it. I don't make any money from this. Since 2010, I've made no money from this. I've invested money more than anything. And I tell you one thing, it's a bloody hard justified to get a partnership this day and age. And that's just me being honest. These big YouTubers make it look easy. You know, and it's not easy. You just got to run with the rough, with the smooth, or you just got to get that little wind to your niche towards whatever you are covering, even if it's professional wrestling. If you want to start doing this, so be it. Because you guys are going to make the difference. You know, because we look at these companies that we watch. We're just numbers. You know, any day-to-day job, we're just numbers. Not as in individuals. You know, we're just numbers. You know, wrestling can be a mug's game for the good and the bad. You know, from the politics and everything. That's the problem where it lies when it comes to professional wrestling this day and age. It's more than ever that it's very negative as well as positive. But can we turn a bit of positivity? I think it's going to be a hard challenge. Because obviously people may see the social media side of things when it comes to professional wrestling. You know, you may think I'm negative towards it. No, it's constructive criticism. That's the difference. With me being a passionate wrestling fan that I have been for many years, close to 40 years, you know, and when people say I'm being a hater, no, I'm just speaking my mind to get my voice heard by the 40 people that have hit the subscribe button. Probably maybe none that have hit the subscribe button. End of the day, what wrestling is at the moment is a dog-eat-dog world. You know, it's bad enough with these wrestlers want to make a name to create their spot for those championships, for that organisation. They win some, lose some, disqualification, put their bodies on the line for, like, hardcore match, tag team match, women's match, ladder match, TLC, no matter, whatever it is. But the thing is it to do with the storylines going forward? Because I look at the way certain companies can't grasp that and grabs in that a moment. It's not about them putting their body on a line, it's just the way they are used. That's why it's biggest frustration with the likes of Brock Lesnar coming back. You know, because he got paid when he was off all that time. Why am I not surprised? You know, it's annoying as it seems, but why am I not surprised that happening? You know, because I feel like that's unfair. They could have invested more into the developmental title, like spots, more than just paying him, being the way he is. You know, he doesn't deserve that sort of accolade. You know, after all this stuff that's come out of him. You know, that's why I've done like 2 videos on it. You know, WWE at the moment, I feel like they are destroying their own history. Quite frank, and I'll be honest, it's not just now, it's been a reoccurring thing. The greatest thing they ever did was the WWE Network. Right? At least one thing when we looked at the United States ones, yeah, fair enough, it launched before us here in the United Kingdom. It proves how much they captivated the moment in 2013, if I recall. To the point where people changed DNS settings on the PS5 the PS3 or the Xbox 360 at the time, or was it normal Xbox? I'm trying to think, I can't remember. Tell me in the comments. But they changed the DNS settings, set up a new profile under a random address, to the point where they were literally setting up to fire stations and God knows what. You know, a little trick that people pulled off. I was one of those people, fair enough. But when it came to the United Kingdom, I changed my address to I moved to the United Kingdom. No way did they check on it. But that was the best thing that WWE fans actually had. You know, it was revolutionary at the time period. You know, we could deep dive to so much in their history, but there was a lot of history missing. That's where I feel like they missed the beat where it came to certain things in the WWE network. Because I invested it from pretty much day one till the day it ended. You know, so I'm a paying customer. I wouldn't mind if they literally put Florida Championship Wrestling on there. You know, because end of the day, when I looked at that, I was thinking, you put the rise and fall of Florida Championship Wrestling documentary on the network, but you didn't give us the Florida Championship Wrestling. You boast about how much OVW made so much to you about bringing these future stars of the time period, even though they were collectively main eventers. One's retiring at the end of the year, such as John Cena. Yeah, fair enough, Brock Lesnar's come back. Shelton Benjamin's in AEW, etc., etc., etc. You know? It was a tough market, fair enough. That was their developmental, before the days of NXT, what is known as today. That's why I feel like we was hard done by wrestling fans, even though you showed ECW, even you showed Smoky Mountain Wrestling, even though you showed WCW, you have destroyed your history because you've got so much potential for that network that you didn't give to us for the 10-year period, even though it was around that long. You started to give us superstars, you know, or superstars of wrestling, even though the episodes that were missing due to copyrights, due to the name. Yes, fair enough, they made a few edits, like changing theme musics and everything, or how do I say it? When it was those call-in numbers, this number does not exist anymore. You know, it's stuff like that you may think wrestling fans have done when it's old footage. You know, I love to deep dive into the old history. You know, I loved watching the old 70s stuff, old 80s stuff, old 90s, etc., etc., etc. When WWE was good, or WWF as it was known on back then. You know, I look at today's stuff and I'm thinking, why does it feel like we've gone too far back? You know, and then when you look at what you actually did for us in the United Kingdom, yes, wrestling fans are grateful for what you actually done when they closed the doors. They literally got a deal with Netflix, even though you literally were showing the newer stuff on Sky Sports and Sky Sports box office. Then the Netflix, network was still around, even though we had the pay-per-views on the network as well. But the weekly product went on to TNT Sports when the deal ran out with Sky Sports. I thought, they're promoting it quite well. They've invested in money, time and effort to get people into watching it. So be it, you know, because at the end of the day, they did a fantastic job in the shorter space of time they actually had the product. But then we still had the network still running what it was at the time period. Then obviously, when the deal ran out on TNT, we was wondering where's it going to end up airing, and so on. To a point, we thought, okay, networks disappeared. Slowly but surely, Netflix is actually going on with the old back catalogue. But the catch is, they've only got WWE, but where's WCW? Where's ECW? You know, WCW now is on YouTube, so they're making money from that. Let alone, besides that, in the United States, they had it on Peacock. But a lot of people complained when it was transitioning into Peacock because they literally edited stuff out of their history. You know, what was history making at the time. A lot of fans noticed that, but they persevered with it. Which I felt like was a bit hard for the United States fans. You know, the die-hard fans that have been watching it for years like I've done. But they persevered with it and still give over the money. That's when I look at the likes of, fast forward to today, Netflix here in the United Kingdom, we get the PLEs. We get the SmackDown, we get the Raw, we get NXT. Yes, we are grateful for that, but then some of the stuff we don't get. We don't get the A&E documentaries, the Bio series, the Legends series, the Rivalry series. You know, we miss out on so much that the United States get, and this is not me crying like a bitch or a baby because, oh, life isn't fair. You know, I'm just stating what I'm stating. Then you look at the way you've done the ticket sales at the moment. You are destroying what Vince brought up. I know it sounds weird to say Vince McMahon in a positive light as of late, but at least one thing, he made tickets value for money for the wrestling fans and made the shows worthwhile at times. I look at today's stuff and I'm thinking, what's gone wrong with Trips? Has he just got money hungry? Because it just feels like that, because you literally are splitting up in the United States. You've literally splitting up in different providers, that you are outpricing your fan base, because it really frustrates me seeing it, that how much you are hurting people that I know in America that are thinking, I'm giving up. You know, and it's hard to say as a wrestling fan just to give up, but this is a living proof of it. Yeah, fair enough, a lot of them were praising Brock Lesnar coming back. I wasn't one of them, you know. But these same people that praise Brock Lesnar coming back, not the people I know, but some people I did, if you know what I mean. But then you it turned from an FU to an F5 to an FU, if you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, I'll explain. It just feels like you've just gave an FU to the American fan base. You know, you've made it one hobby to get us away from reality to be more expensive. You know, and what is there's going to be to show for it? Because it feels like such a mediocre product at the moment. I get it on my part of my package towards with Virgin Media that Netflix comes included. And I tell you what, when I look at what we've seen recently, that's why I turned off. You know, and that's not me saying because I'm an AEW fanboy. This is saying me from my heart as a wrestling fan. You are doing the hard balling the fans. Yes, America may have had in the past the pay-per-view providers were more expensive here in the United Kingdom. I booked every one that was on Sky Sports box office. You know, because wrestling was good back then. You could tell the difference. You could tell the passion into the wrestlers. Now it just feels like you just don't care. I know it sounds daft, but even though SummerSlam sort of delivered but got overshadowed by someone's return, but it baffles me when I feel like you're destroying your own product, bringing him back because the amount of people probably are hating all over this and telling the truth. Because it hurts wrestling fans. You know, you may glamorize and say, oh, he had a big pop, like I said in the previous video. Or sells a lot of merchandise. But what's that got to do with the weekly product that you meant to be a fan of? You know? You used to be pissed off when he came to someone like Brock Lesnar who disappeared for months on end and he's having the title, working it part-time. He's probably come back part-time. You know, it just baffles me to think that why are you relying on a big guy to make an explosion, a big pop? It proves that you don't have faith in your own talent. Inconsistency with the women's division, a prime example. Same with the tag team division. You know, mid-card titles, they're hit and miss at times. The reason why I highlighted with the women, they deserve a lot better and respect than they get. Naomi's a prime example of it. This past Monday night, she had a promo, didn't she? Went to commercial ad break in America. Fair enough, here in the United Kingdom, you got to see it. There was a lot of stuff that we did not see. Or did we see? You know, you can't do that to your women's champion. How are you meant to make her over as crazy for the fans, even though she is over? She's lucky enough to have an opportunity to come back. But the thing is very inconsistency with the women's division, which I do not like. There's fantastic women on the women's division, don't get me wrong. From Naomi, Tiffany Stratton can be good at times. Jade Cargill, I feel like she's lost her push now. I don't think she'd be facing towards any main titles as such. She'll probably go mid-card title if you're lucky. You know, this is the problem where it lies, where you treat some women with respect more than others. Because you look at, apart from Tiffany Stratton, you look at your current champions right now for your company with the same people that Triple H promoted in the main roster. Can't you at least have a bit of decency, right? And consistency. You know, fair enough. On SmackDown, you had the likes of John Cena. You had the likes of Brock. What's the catch is, when you look at the bigger spectrum of things, ain't Raw meant to be your flagship show, not SmackDown? You know, you treat your product at the moment like it's a piece of trash. You know, our fans will lap it up. Fans will buy into us. What will it take for WWE to listen? You know, every time when Nick Khan speaks, he puts himself in the shit. Triple H occasionally puts himself in the shit. You know, this is where I see WWE are destroying their own legacy. You know, it's not because of with AEW saying that's competition, even though it is competition. But I'm not saying this. I'm just saying this with someone that's actually watching wrestling for a while. Then you look at the way AEW platform is, right? They're doing all right. They're doing decent. Not big numbers as you expect for like a Raw or a SmackDown with their Dynamite and Collision, but they still get by. They sell a decent amount of tickets. I feel like there's no politics to a point in AEW. They treat the women fairly. They treat the tag team division fairly. They treat the mid-card titles fairly. And the main card title. I mean the main titles. Same with Ring of Honor. You know, I like what they've done with Ember Moon when she literally left the main roster. I felt like she was lost in the shuffle when it came to that. AEW know how to make stars out of people that didn't believe in them. Because I always looked at AEW, that's always been overlooked for many people. Right? They're giving legends. You use the same excuses. Oh, it's full of former WWE guys. So, okay, then you should be watching the product. If you're a fan of WWE, you like AEW. Oh, I didn't watch AEW, but I wouldn't mind the likes of MJF in the WWE. How do you even know what MJF is like if you do not like the product? You know, the people always make excuses to not watch other companies. You know, I think he was on Heels for Life podcast. Big shout out to Chris if you're watching this. That, if I remember rightly, seeing a snippet what he put on TikTok, it feels like he's cheating on his missus. Or it feels like he's cheating on a girlfriend or boyfriend, I can't remember which, if he watches another company. And that proves how much passion that guy's got towards WWE. But the catch is WWE at the moment are pricing out the fans. And how many dollars is it going to take? How many pounds is it going to take? You know, it's weird to think when Vince was in power with Kevin Dunn doing the storylines. It's weird to think when they were declining in sales and so on like that. And yet we're getting that mediocre product like we did back then. You know, it's mad. It is absolutely mental to actually think that I feel like WWE is destroying themselves. You know, because at the end of the day, what are you expecting soon fans to turn up to watching shows in shirts and ties because of how expensive they're paid for tickets, or an evening gown dress? Because what you need to start structuring your product a lot better. You know, I say the Attitude Era was overrated, even though there were some golden matches over there. But you literally made golden children there. You made household names. You know, they were fighting for that top spot. They made it feel believable. You had your divisions right. You know, from your tag teams to your mid-card titles to your hardcore title and everything. You had that sort of right. So why can't someone that's been experienced in the ring in that time frame, let alone the fade of the golden new era, the new generation, when Shawn Michaels came through, Bret Hart came through, Stone Cold Steve Austin came through, why can't you put that transition to what you got today? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying, oh yeah, certain people is the next best thing or something on those lines. It just baffles me to think this is the company that got me into professional wrestling. I've stated, nearly 40 years of watching professional wrestling. I've not technically missed a thing, you know. Even if it's clips on YouTube or something like that, or people's review, I've just been obsessed with professional wrestling. I listen to these podcasts that I've mentioned, or have been on them myself, as a wrestling fan, to express my frustrations with certain things in the wrestling world. But that's what I mean. It's just mental to think that WWE can sit there and go, okay, you know, they are pretty much trying to prize out the fans. You're making them choose if they want like one or two tickets, but technically you are forcing fans to buy more tickets when they can't physically afford it. You know, you need to be loaded this day and age to afford professional wrestling. And I'm not saying it's not just the merchandise itself, it's the tickets situation. And if you are putting more PLEs next year, or pay-per-views it will be known as probably from next year, you need to put a better product on than what we are getting right now. And that's saying something. Because this feels like worse than WCW Worldwide. You know, when that was filmed at Disneyland. It feels like we're getting worse than that. Worse than Saturday Night Thunder. It's worse than that. Now, that's not me disrespecting the wrestlers, don't get me wrong. I feel like I'm disrespecting the higher ups because you've technically exposed what you shouldn't expose in professional wrestling, although it felt like it was badly, a lot of stuff was cut out. I'm on about on WWE Unreal. You know? But it really frustrates me when you do certain things. And certain things need to stop. But that's just my thoughts, and guys. Tell me your thoughts. You know? I'm not saying it because I watch AEW, because yes, I do watch AEW. I tried to watch Impact Wrestling the other day. I couldn't get into it because I'm in the middle of a storyline. But the problem where I see it, when it literally comes to the crunch, when I look at the types of wrestlers we've had and come and gone, half of their main on the main. I'm not disrespecting the wrestlers, don't get me wrong. I feel like they were handled a lot better back in the day than they are now. Because I look at the women's division, thriving at the moment, but it's not thriving as much as you think. Because they got disrespected when it came to the, how to put it, the all-women's PLE. Rushed it, you know. But it delivered, don't get me wrong. But then you look at the outcomes of some of the matches when it comes from like SummerSlam. and what we've had recently, it's been trash. That's me being honest. God forbid if I was in the mood to rage, I would be raging, but my throat is still sore from the last video I did. You know, and that's saying something. So I hope you understand my predicament and other people's predicament, you know. I've noticed one thing with anything that you speak of. If you speak positive of something, they don't speak to you. But when it's negative, they always jump down your throats. And it's true. That's how social media works. Everyone doesn't think the same. We wish they did, but it would be a boring world, wouldn't it? That's just my thoughts and opinions. But anyway, here's the guys from the UWO podcast, like I said earlier on. Thank you for watching, guys.
All right, yeah, real quick, all right? And I don't know the everyday, day-to-day fan in terms of wrestling when it comes to England, but if you voice your opinion as a wrestling fan, things that you displeased with, and you can match it with things that you are pleased with, you can never be classified as a hater. If you're telling your truth, I'm like, yo, look, I'm dissatisfied with this because of this. However, this works for me. This does not work for me. How can you be a hater? You're just speaking your fucking truth. If everything that you say is literally negative about a company, then you can be classified as a hater. Oh, he only saying that because he hates him. But if you're like, yo, fuck those ticket prices. Show was pretty fucking good, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? The show was all right. But the only thing I really didn't like is the ticket prices. How can you be hated for that?
And Gav, here's another thing too. You got to remember, when it comes to the social media world, we're all at an older age. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all, like, we've lived through a lot of the stuff that these young kids have no idea what the fuck they're even talking about. When they're like, oh, Jey Uso's the greatest wrestler of all time. Yeah, he ain't even the greatest wrestler in his family right now. That's on the roster.
I'm gonna be real with you. He's not even top 3.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Kids nowadays, they have certain perceptions of things, and they think that their view on the world is correct when they haven't been through shit. To quote Stephen A., Similac coming off your lips.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
who's going to be commentating on Raw pretty
or people who just got into wrestling but already have a huge following, think that they can influence and talk to people like us who have watched literally every promotion, have been watching for damn near 40 years of our lives. We were watching shit before half of y'all were even born, son. And trust me, there's a generation before us who looks at us the same way. So don't let those people get to you, Gav, and anybody else out there. Don't let those people get to you. Because you know what it is? It's just an opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one.